There is a poison in the air of our modern world. It is odorless, tasteless, and it is dispensed not from a vial, but from a screen. Its symptom is not a fever, but a deep, quiet numbness. It is the constant low-grade pleasure of endless comfort, of effortless distraction, of a life engineered to remove all friction. We believe we are accumulating a life of quality, but we are, in truth, dissolving the very faculties that make life worth living: our perception, our gratitude, and our will. To cure this, we must look not forward to new technologies, but backward, to an age where clarity was a matter of life and death. To the samurai, and to the most ruthless of them all, Miyamoto Musashi, who in his final days penned a solitary line in his Dokkōdō, his path of aloneness: do not seek pleasure for its own sake. This is not a moral warning, it is a tactical manual. Today we will reconstruct this ancient tactic. We will explore why you must strategically cultivate poverty, not as a life sentence, but as a sharpening stone for the spirit. Chapter 1. The Polished Mirror. To understand this strategic poverty, we must first understand the samurai ideal of Seishin, the purified spirit. Imagine the mind not as a cluttered room, but as a mirror. A mirror's only function is to reflect reality with perfect, unwavering accuracy. It does not comment. It does not desire. It does not cling to one image and mourn its passing when another appears. It simply reflects what is. For the warrior, this was not poetry. It was survival. In a duel, a clouded mirror, a mind preoccupied with fear, with pride, with the comfort of home, meant a fatal delay in perceiving the enemy's sword. The samurai cultivated practices to polish this mirror: meditation, austere living, the tea ceremony, even the deliberate appreciation of fleeting beauty, like cherry blossoms. Each was a discipline of subtraction, a removal of the dust of attachment. The goal was mushin, no mind, a state of pure, fluid awareness. Our modern world, however, is a factory of dust. Every notification, every curated stream of content, every advertised solution for a problem we never knew we had, is a new layer of grime upon our mirror. We have mistaken the dust for the mirror itself. Chapter 2. The Man in the Gilded Cage. Consider the story of Kenji, not a warrior, but a modern salaryman in Tokyo. By every external metric, Kenji had succeeded. He lived in a sleek, minimalist apartment in a desirable neighborhood. His smartphone was the latest model, a portal to infinite entertainment. His kitchen was filled with convenient appliances that made meals in minutes. He had subscriptions to every streaming service, ensuring he was never bored. Yet, Kenji felt a profound hollowing. He would come home from work, exhausted not from labor, but from a low-grade, persistent negotiation with 1,000 tiny desires. Should he watch this show, order that food, scroll through this feed? His evenings bled into a lukewarm bath of passive consumption. His apartment was silent, yet his mind was deafening. He had everything to feel, and yet he felt nothing keenly, not joy, not sorrow, only a muffled anxiety. He was, as the Zen saying goes, like a rider on a wooden horse, desperately whipping it to go faster. He was surrounded by pleasure, yet starved of meaning. His spirit was not purified, it was anesthetized. Chapter 3. The Strategy of Deprivation. Musashi's precept arrives not as a scold, but as a liberation. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. This is the core of the strategy. Pleasure pursued as an end becomes a prison. But pleasure that arrives as a consequence of a life lived with clarity, that is a reward beyond measure. The strategy of poverty is the deliberate, tactical removal of non-essential comforts to restore the sensitivity of the spirit. It is not about living in a barren room with nothing. It is about identifying the comforts that have made you dull and surgically excising them. For the samurai, this might mean sleeping on a thin mat instead of a padded futon, to harden the body and appreciate rest. For Kenji, it began with a single radical act. He boxed up his television, not forever, but for a season. The first evening was agony. The silence of his apartment was no longer a backdrop. It was an immense, echoing presence. He paced. He felt restless, itchy. His mind, deprived of its usual pacifier, turned inward. And in that inward turn, he encountered the very unease he had been medicating for years. Chapter 4. The Awakening of Need. In the void, left by the removed comfort, something ancient began to stir. Genuine need. With the easy distraction gone, Kenji's real desires, long suppressed, began to surface. He was not bored. He was confronted with a hunger for substance. One night, driven by a restlessness he could not quell with a screen, he took a long, aimless walk. With no podcast in his ears, he heard the city. The distant hum of traffic, the rustle of leaves in a small park, the fragments of conversation from a late-night noodle stand. He smelled the rain on pavement, the damp earth. His perception, long dulled, was beginning to sharpen. He returned home, and for the first time in years, he felt a true physical fatigue, not a mental exhaustion. Sleep, when it came, was deep and restorative. He had cultivated a need for movement, for air, for quiet, and in fulfilling it, he experienced a pleasure far richer than any streaming series could provide. This is the alchemy of the strategy. By depriving yourself of cheap satisfaction, you create space for expensive, meaningful fulfillment to enter. Your gratitude for a simple meal, a conversation, a full night's sleep becomes profound because you have felt the authentic need for it. Chapter 5. The Fortification of Will. A single act of deprivation is a curiosity. A sustained practice becomes a forge for the will. Kenji did not stop with the television. He began a practice of Ichigyo Zamai, the samurai concept of full absorption in a single act. He chose the making of his morning coffee. No phone, no news. Just the ritual of boiling water, grinding beans, the slow pour. This small daily act of focused attention became a keystone habit. It trained his mind to resist the pull of fragmentation. He then applied this to his diet, removing the endless snacks and ordering in, committing to preparing one simple, deliberate meal each day. With each comfort removed, there was initial resistance, a voice bargaining for the old, easy way. But with each resistance overcome, Kenji's sense of personal sovereignty grew. He was no longer a passive consumer of his environment, reacting to its stimuli. He was its architect. His will, once a flimsy thing bent by every passing whim, began to harden into a disciplined force. This is the warrior's true armor, not steel, but a will that has been tempered in the cold water of chosen hardship. Chapter 6. The Purified Spirit in a Decadent World. Kenji's apartment did not become empty. It became intentional. The objects that remained served a purpose or sparked a specific, genuine joy. His mind, once a battlefield of competing desires, began to attain moments of that polished mirror clarity. At work, he found he could listen more deeply, his perception less clouded by the mental static of last night's digital clutter. He began to see the architecture of modern decadence not as something to judge, but as a landscape to navigate with tactical awareness. He could engage with it from a position of strength, not vulnerability. This is Seishin, the purified spirit. It is not a rejection of the modern world, but the cultivation of an inner citadel so strong that you can walk through its chaos untouched, your perception sharp, your gratitude active, your will unbreakable. You are no longer seeking pleasure. You are engaging with life, and from that full engagement, a profound and lasting satisfaction naturally arises. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against an external enemy. It is against the seductive, enfeebling comfort that your own civilization offers you. The sword you must wield is the sword of strategic refusal. To say no to the trivial pleasure is to say yes to a profound capacity. It is to polish the mirror of your mind until it reflects the world with a painful, beautiful clarity. It is to cultivate need so that you may truly appreciate fulfillment. It is to starve the weaker parts of your nature so that the warrior within may be nourished. Begin not with grand renunciation, but with a single, deliberate deprivation. Remove one source of easy noise and sit in the silence that follows. In that silence, you will hear the whisper of your own, undiluted spirit, and you will remember what it is to be truly, fiercely alive. And so, we return to the mirror. What began as a story of Kenji is, in truth, a reflection of a choice that stands before each of us. You have learned that the path to clarity is not through addition, but through a courageous subtraction. You have seen how the ancient principle of Seishin, of a purified spirit, is not an artifact of history, but a living strategy. It teaches us that by strategically cultivating need, by deliberately removing the comforts that dull our senses, we do not become impoverished. We become rich in perception, in gratitude, and in a will that cannot be easily broken by the world's distractions. This is the timeless application of Musashi's final wisdom: to cease seeking pleasure for its own sake, and instead to seek the strength that comes from a chosen discipline. I leave you with a single question to contemplate. What is the one comfort, the one effortless pleasure in your daily life that, if you removed it for a season, would create the most meaningful void? What genuine need might rise to fill that space? I would be honored to hear your thoughts. If this philosophy resonates with you, if you see the value in this path of the warrior spirit, consider sharing your reflection in the comments below. Your insights deepen this conversation for all who gather here, and if you wish to walk further on this path, your subscription is a welcome commitment to continue this exploration together. Thank you deeply for your time and your attention. Until next we meet, may your spirit remain clear and your resolve steadfast.